Hi, today we're going to work, with our Yule log, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. The pagan Yule log is a tradition from ancient winter solstice celebrations. And what they used to do is have a big, giant, often an oak piece of oak tree, big, long log that they would feed into the fire for 12 days and keep this going. Obviously, we're not going to do that. We're going to use a small piece. Um, but it symbolized the sun's strength and brought good luck and was believed to ward off evil spirits. And also, it symbolized the returning of the sun and the warmth. And the ashes from the log were carefully collected at the end of the celebration for the following year to be used either as a protective charm, as a fertilizer in the soil to help the crops grow, or even as a medicine. But regardless of how it was used in modern civilization, the Yule log continues to symbolize health, prosperity, and renewal for the coming year. And so that's what we're doing here. I'm going to talk about the energy of some of the different plants that we're going to use, as well as how we want to attach things to our Yule log, and then what we're going to do with it come the winter solstice. So let's get started. Well, you can see everything that I've got going on here. I have various different plant material that I've cut off my land. I have a big spool of red thread. I've got some wax candles, my log that I picked, and this particular log is pine. And I've got some pruners that I'm going to need. So there's a couple of ways that we can attach our product to our Yule log. And I should talk about my log before we start. I wanted to find a log and I was going to drill a hole so that I could actually place a candle in it. I got really lucky because I couldn't figure out a tool to do that. I found this log that had a knot in it that fits my candle perfectly. So I'm going to make sure that I keep that space open. And I have several candles, and it actually works with several different heights and widths. So that's great. So you can do it with or without your candle. And if you can get a hole in there, then great. So the red thread. The red thread in many cultures and pagan witchcraft, whatever you're working with, can represent good luck, protection, and positive energy. And it also can be seen as a spiritual strength and inner peace, a sign of spiritual strength and inner peace. So excellent things to be putting into our Yule log. So what we can do is we can use it to wrap around our whatever branches that we're adding to it. The other thing that we can do, I'm going to use this little candle and see if I can't melt a little wax onto here. The wax will burn nicely. I haven't done this before, so let's see what happens. You get to be my witness if we're doing red thread or if we're doing wax. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, this is black spruce that I have right here. It looks a little bit different from white spruce. I'm letting it warm up while I talk. And black spruce in particular represents resilience against the harshness of winter. And spruce in general, I also have some white spruce we'll be working with as well, is a high vibration plant. And it represents renewal, resilience, and spiritual elevation. So I'm definitely going to be having some of that in my, I'm going to just try dripping it right on my log, on my Yule log. And if you watch the altar video where I talked about juniper, that's about protection and purification. And also for healing the land. It grows just about anywhere. And so it's an excellent plant for healing of the land. And I think with all the things going on in the world, my plants are a little bit wet, so You're hearing some sizzling here is my wax drips. There's so many things going on, and healing the land, I think, is a really important and special thing to be working with right now. The other thing, I have a little bit of cedar. My cedar is very small, so it's not particularly prolific. But cedar invites peace and clarity and spiritual alignment. So something you might also want to utilize on your Yule log, depending what you have available to you. And then another thing that I want to bring in is birch. Now birch, I've got a little bit of birch bark here that's also a little bit wet. Birch is about renewal, it's about fertility, and also about new beginnings. And so because we're going into a new year, we've already talked about this year being the year of release, of letting go, and next year being new beginnings. I really want to bring a little bit of birch into this. So I think at the rate we're going here, I think what I'm going to do is use my red string. This doesn't seem to be working quite the way I wanted, but it gave me an opportunity to talk about all of those plants that I wanted to talk about. So we're just going to go ahead and weave this in. Oh, maybe it's going to stick more than I thought. I'm going to weave in these different plants using your pruners to make the pieces be the sizes they want. Rather than you watching me go through this whole process, I'm going to cut to where I've got it all embellished with my branches, and then show you some other things that we can add to this and what we might do with this before the solstice. So as you can see, I've mostly got some greenery attached to my Yule log. I still have my hole for my candle, and again, that's not mandatory, but I like to have one in there. And I've used the red thread to wrap around. And one of the things I forgot to say about the red thread is it's also representative of the ancestors and our bloodlines. And I wanted to also weave in a little bit of rosemary. Rosemary is about memory and purification. And I thought with the red thread and the ancestor energetic connection, I really wanted to weave some of the memory of rosemary in there as well. Now there's some other things that you can bring in. Dehydrated oranges. I did these in my dehydrator, but you can also do them in your oven. And these represent the sun, as we talked about in the orange video, and they can be tucked in here and there. And also I brought some pine cones. Actually, I only brought one, but I would probably put 3 in here. And I'd probably get a little bit smaller ones. This one's a very big one. But pine cones, with their geometric design, they mimic, or I guess our pineal gland mimics the pine cone, I should say. But it's got this geometric design, and our pineal gland is shaped exactly like a pine cone, hence the name. It's actually right in the name. And that represents our intuition and connection to the other worlds and our ability to travel and into other realms in our imagination. And so I'm going to get some smaller ones, which I should have, but before it got dark, but weave some of those into there as well. And then the other thing that I was thinking about that I think I really want to do, some birch bark. And write some things on here that I really want to leave behind as we move into this new year. And I'm going to write them right on the birch. And I'm going to tuck the birch bark in here and there once I've written on them. And birch is, I think I might have said this, is about renewal, fertility, and new beginnings. And I really want to incorporate that into my Yule log as well. And then the other thing we can incorporate are cinnamon sticks. And cinnamon sticks, cinnamon in particular, is a very grounding herb or spice, and it's particularly useful at this time of year. But it's also about renewal and protection and energetic cleansing. And it's also the fire element. It represents the fire element, and so it's that reminiscent of the sun once again. And yeah, so that's my Yule log. Have some fun creating your Yule log. And then actually on the solstice, is when we will put it in the fire. It'll burn those little intentions that we have in there of leaving things behind. We can collect the ashes just like they did in the old days, and let it represent this, symbolizing your health and prosperity and renewal for the coming year, and welcoming the sun back. Okay, have some fun, and we'll see you on the next video.